We've been married for 3 years. My father-in-law, who was very kind to me, has passed away. After a long battle with illness, he passed away peacefully, surrounded by his family.
Let's call Mom in.
Yes, I agree. She's been having trouble with her legs and back, and since I work from home, I think I can provide a lot of support. We decided to invite my mother-in-law to live with us, and Liam conveyed this to the family before the funeral. But
What are you saying? You're just after Mom's savings of $2 million, aren't you? But don't worry, we will live with her and take care of her.
That's right. She wouldn't have to worry as much in her current home. Leave it to us.
sister-in-law's couple intervened in a rush and forcefully asserted that they would live with her.
It's not about the money. We wouldn't say this because of Mom's money. It's up to Mom to decide, and I respect her decision.
In response to Liam's question, the mother-in-law bowed her head and said,
Thank you. Your child is still small, so I'll stay at my current house.
She said she'd rely on her daughter. I've never heard about the savings. The couple were treating us as if we were villains for proposing to living together, regardless of money.
Maybe she's the one who wants to get money.
In the car on the way home, Liam muttered this. I agree. I definitely have that feeling. When we have time, let's check on the mother-in-law. From then on, I visited her in my spare time, and I did my best to check on her, thinking that it would reassure Liam. However, within a few months, their attitude towards the mother-in-law dramatically changed. One day, when I visited during a break from work, sister-in-law was there. She was really there. Hello, Emma. How's Mom doing? She forcibly took the cake I had brought as a gift and checked its contents, and apparently satisfied with her, she abruptly told me to come in.
Come in.
So I entered the house. Oh, Emma, you've come to visit. I bought a cake that you like. Please have it later. Oh, thank you. Upon seeing my mother-in-law, I noticed that she was wearing the same clothes as yesterday. If laundry is difficult for you, I can take it home, dry it, and bring it back to you. Maybe you're having trouble doing housework because you are not physically well. I'm wondering that only their laundry is usually hung outside, and I'm worried she's losing weight. If she has 3 meals a day, it won't happen.
I'm fine, Emma. Thank you.
But
She says she's fine. You're really persistent, coming every day.
Sarah cut off my words and directed her eyes at her biological mother as if she were looking at something dirty. Sarah, you said we'd take care of Mom at the time, right?
So what?
Sure enough, at the time, she insisted. We will take care of her to reject our offer. But what on earth is happening with my mother-in-law's situation?
Because Mom's savings have been used up to buy a new car. So now she's a poor old woman with no money. Do you understand? You were saying you wanted to call her in, right? Now it costs money for her now, so you don't need her anymore.
What the hell saying like this? I feel guilty for not having taken my mother-in-law at the time. She is sitting behind me, looking uncomfortable. She's your real mother, talking about money all the time. It's astonishing that you can say such things after spending her savings. Please, choose your words carefully when you say you don't need her. Please, think a little more about Mom.
You're so annoying.
She doesn't seem to be able to even have a discussion. Not wanting to cause any more discomfort, I called Liam to explain the situation, and we decided to have her come to our house from today. I hurriedly packed up her belongings, got her into the car, and headed for our house.
Sister-in-law didn't even see us off, and my mother-in-law was surprised by my decisiveness throughout. After that, our life as a family of four, including my mother-in-law, began. Emma, I'm sorry for being a burden on you. Especially when your child is still so small, and also you need to take care of me too. What are you talking about? Don't worry about it. We are family, aren't we? I smiled and replied. She accepted that I came from an orphanage and treated me well, like their own child. I felt so fresh and happy living with her. I'm happy living with you. And it's my first time raising a child. There are many things I don't know, so I wanted you to teach me. She smiled happily at my words. My husband, too, is delighted with the current situation, and most importantly, my mother-in-law seems to be happy living with her grandchild. However, our current situation as a couple is far from being wealthy. We were cutting back on living expenses and managing day by day. Of course, it's not all bad because I'm learning about saving techniques and I didn't want to rely too much on money for happiness. But I had a dream. I wanted to run a cafe someday. So, even as a student, I had a part-time job at a popular cafe. However, taking in my mother-in-law would mean postponing my dream. No, I didn't want to give up my dream because of my family. So I dedicated myself to saving, working from home, raising my child, and taking care of daily household chores. One day, about 6 months after living with my mother-in-law, she called me in a serious tone. Emma, please come here. Yes, what is it? She handed me a thick envelope. This is your living expenses. Take it without saying anything. When I checked the contents, there were bundles of 100 bills. What? Huh? This? Money! I always save money. I rarely see bundles of bills. I could not say anything. Count it. There's $7,000, she said with a smile. Indeed, when I counted, there was exactly $7,000. I can't accept this much. I tried to refuse, but she interrupted me. I'm sorry for testing you. I was planning to see your financial sense for a year, but I didn't need to worry. By increasing the living for me, I caused you to endure a difficult life of strict saving. I didn't want to burden you anymore. Please accept it. I'll pay for living expenses. Is it all right for $2,000? I stared at my mother-in-law, dumbfounded. Oh no, I don't need $2,000. But why so much money? I was still a bit confused. She didn't have no idea with the lottery she won. She started studying investment. It was popular at that time. It turned out to be profitable. It seemed that she actually has $80,000 in savings deposited in a bank passbook and stocks managed in a bank vault. My sister-in-law, aiming for his father's money, she prepared a dummy $20,000. She wanted to confirm if their financial sense was stable. When she had given them $200,000 as their future living expenses, they couldn't have lasted for a week. My mother-in-law sighed heavily. It seemed that even my father-in-law, while he was alive, had been keenly aware of my sister-in-law and her husband's reckless spending. He had mentioned the possibility of cutting ties with them if they tried to monopolize his inheritance. She thought it might actually come true. But you two don't prioritize money that much. On that day when you took out, I was surprised, but really happy. That's why I want you to accept it. And I also want to help with your dream. Really? My mother-in-law seemed to have heard about my dream from my husband. Can I really take advantage of my mother-in-law's kindness? I discussed it with my husband, and we decided to save money for the future. When I told my mother-in-law about it, she nodded and agreed with understanding. A few days later, my sister-in-law and her husband, who suddenly visited, bugged Em, demanding to resume living with her. Fortunately, my husband had a day off, so he dealt with them, and they left without any trouble. However, I was concerned about them. My mother-in-law saw them and suggested that we should specify a day for them to come to us since they would probably come again soon. Later, my sister-in-law and her husband agreed to the proposal and visited my mother-in-law again on the specified day and time.
Mom, pack up quickly. We're going home right now.
Emma, I'll have a cold iced coffee, like the one they serve at hotels.
They rudely entered the house without even greeting. But what awaited them was,
We've been waiting for you. Please have a seat.
"How dare you?"
Who are you? I'm Jung, an attorney.
Huh?
And so it turned out that my mother-in-law had hired a lawyer. We were in the next room, and we could easily imagine my sister-in-law and her husband showing signs of panic as we could hear the conversation. The lawyer explained the details of the request. We won't give away any of the current assets. They must repay the entire $2,000 they spent, and they have to leave the home they are occupying now.
No way, Mom. I'm your daughter. How can you cut off ties like that when your daughter is in trouble?
My sister-in-law countered loudly.
Mother-in-law, please reconsider.
My brother-in-law raised his voice, an unusual sight. However, my mother-in-law remained unfazed and calmly spoke slowly. "If that's the case, you don't even remember what you did to me. Did you forget I'm a penniless old woman? You said you didn't need money because I didn't. Despite having debts, you used the living expenses I gave you to buy a new car. And now I hear that your debts have more than doubled. You don't even know how to handle money. Don't borrow from others. Moving in with me at the family home was just an excuse because you couldn't afford the rent. It's your own doing. With my husband's inheritance issue, I'll also ask you to renounce your inheritance rights. I won't help you no matter what happens in the future. Keep that in mind." Unable to say anything, my sister-in-law and her husband left quietly, filled with despair after receiving an explanation from the lawyer. Fed up with her daughter and husband's refusal to the eviction order, she sold the family home. And now they were forced to leave, so no one knows where they are now. When I asked her if she had any regrets, despite being blood relatives, "If you are a mother, it is sometimes necessary to let your child live alone," she replied with a clear expression. I didn't ask any further. As time passed, the amount we saved from the monthly living expenses grew larger. She once again, "You can use that money for yourselves," she told us. After talking with my husband, we decided to use it for a family trip we had been sacrificing and the capital to open the cafe we had always dreamed of. Thanks to my mother-in-law's presence, we took a step toward our dream that we had been hesitant to pursue. There were many challenges leading up to the opening, but we managed to overcome them together. When the time for the grand opening approached, my husband quit his job at the wholesale company and assisted me in sourcing materials for the cafe, expediting the preparations. We bought and renovated the family home where my mother-in-law and father-in-law used to live, turning it into the cafe. It was my husband's wish to preserve the atmosphere of the building as a place of cherished memories for my mother-in-law and father-in-law. Although it took time to prepare the cafe, it became a beloved establishment in the community, a place for people to relax. I was surprised when my sister-in-law and her husband visited the cafe once, but they were much more humble compared to before. It seemed they had truly changed their ways. My husband and I smiled at each other. However, their purpose for visiting was to ask for money, so my husband scolded them and drove them away. It seems that since then, they have been working tirelessly to repair their debts without taking any breaks. My husband? Well, it seems those two need to struggle a bit more. My husband sighed in exasperation. Tears of joy filled my mother-in-law's eyes as the family home was reborn into a cafe, preserving the memories she had with my father-in-law. She became proactive in her rehabilitation, addressing her previously ailing legs and hips. When she felt confident in her physical condition, she put on the same apron as us and stood behind the counter, looking vibrant and alive. It felt as if my father-in-law captured in the photo was smiling at her.